teachers and other public sector workers that financial relief is on the way. However, he said the necessary monetary allocation for back pay and increased salaries will be made in the next budget package. As the minister delivered the mid-year budget review yesterday, he addressed who he called the anxious unions.
So I want to tell nurses, teachers, and whoever else that are currently at the bargaining table or are awaiting finalization that relief is coming. Relief is coming. The documentations are being provided now, and in fiscal 2027, Mr. Speaker, the relevant appropriations will be made.
In response, public sector unions are pushing back against government's plan to provide salary relief in the 2026-2027 budget. While nurses say they are encouraged by the timeline, teachers are calling the proposal completely unacceptable. Tutor President Crystal Ash rejected the timeline outright, accusing the government of repeatedly delaying commitments.
Unacceptable. Tutor will not accept that. That is ridiculous. Because we had an agreement, we had multiple dates. Now they're moving the goalposts every time. So you would have moved it from June. You moved it to January. You moved it to the end of the first quarter. Now you moved it to 2027. When will we have it next? At the end of your term in office? No, that is unacceptable.
And Attorney General John Jeremy says government will continue its crackdown on illegal PH drivers despite calls from the opposition for leniency. Referencing the murder of 12-year-old Mercedes Lane, Jeremy said public safety concerns remain a key factor in government's approach. As he revealed, the issue is currently under review.
There are numerous instances of abductions, rape, murder of passengers, primarily girls and women, who have sought transportation from PH drivers. Just last week, the country was truly horrified. We were all devastated at the murder of young Mercedes Lane when she was placed in a PH taxi, according to media reports. We on this side are bringing that situation under.
Well, stay tuned for another news update at the top of the hour and for comprehensive coverage in our midday news and major newscast at 7 p.m. on CNC3.
Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. A beautiful shot there of the city. A matter of fact, that's the industrial court. And as we go a bit further, you're seeing all the administrative buildings there, Hyatt Regency, of course, the Ministry of Education. It's a beautiful day for our friends coming from the east. Just look up in the sky. I don't know if the sunrise, if the hues are still... goodness me, hold on. Let me sort myself out. You know, it's live TV, right? So let me put myself in a gear. So by all means, I want to say welcome. It's a beautiful day. The sky this morning, what a sunrise. I went outside on my way to the studio and I said, my goodness, I mean, it's one thing to embrace the sunset, and most of us who live, whether it's the southwest or the western part of Trinidad, you get a chance to see that display every single evening. But for those who live on the east, especially Mayaro, good morning, Mayaro, to our friends on that side, where you get that sunrise over the waters. Oh my goodness, beautiful indeed. Let's get the ball rolling. It's an action-packed day, lots of conversations ahead. We might actually get a chance. No, I don't think we get a chance to squeeze any calls. You know, if we could, I would make it happen. But nonetheless, sit back, relax, and enjoy. Certainly, you're in the right place at the right time. Let's get the ball rolling for today, Tuesday, on your morning brew. Running in. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. As mentioned earlier, your boy, Jason J.W. Williams. Great to be in your company. Lots to unpack. And let me say good morning to the amazing team here at CNC3 and to all those enjoying the World Cup 2026. What a game yesterday. Cape Verde, our friends there, of the African coast, coming up against the mighty Spanish. Spain, former champions, with the world of stars, with a tremendous league that dominates global football. We're talking La Liga. And just like what we did in 2006, they went there and they decided, you know what, we're not going to lie down. Because what happened to Curacao was the expectation. Small country meeting big established nation. Granted, Curacao scored a goal and they got a chance to celebrate. And I myself Sunday was jumping up for Curacao. You swear born and grow on the island. I mean, I was so happy for Curacao when they equalized, but then eventually, you know, as expected, they received a proper softening. Not Cape Verde. Very much what we did in Germany back in 2006 against Sweden on that opener on Saturday, the 10th of June 2006 at the time, which would have been 20 years and a couple of days ago. Cape Verde did the exact same thing. Parked the bus, defensive shape, and did not allow not one goal. And more so coming out of that game, the goalkeeper, oh yes, he's now a household name. His followers on Instagram went from 50,000 to over 1 million, close to 2 from what I'm seeing. He is a hero. He will never have to buy a beer and a meal again in Cape Verde. What a beautiful game. And that's what the World Cup offers up every single year, these amazing stories. And just like in sport, we have to look at life and that reflection. And when you have that, sometimes that David versus Goliath story, yes, as the small person, as the lesser of the two entities, you could come out sometimes on top, or you can stand toe to toe. So that's my takeaway and my, just happy story from that beautiful game yesterday. A game where they had 4 draws. 4 draws whole of yesterday. Just draw after draw after draw after draw. Even the game last night with Iran. What a game it was. But we'll treat with that later on. Let's head to the front page. Let's turn back. Let's go to that mid-year budget review. And from what I'm seeing here, payday is coming. Payday budget disclosure. Tanku promises to address outstanding wage matters for nurses and teachers in 2027. He says the 2027 budget, yes, we're going to sort you out. However, tutor with their president, Crystal Ash, he's not having it. He's unhappy with the timeline. He finds they're shifting the goalpost. They're only moving it, pushing it back, and he's not having it. He was very, very vocal. And I would wait to touch base with him, whether it's on the set or via the Zoom line, to find out what's the next course of action. That story develops on page 5. Also, I'm seeing the Prime Minister reveals P&M officials on secret TNTech no disconnection list. That develops on page 7. And she also had some very sharp words towards Member of Parliament Keith Scotland, who, outside the Parliament, defended his name and was asking for the Prime Minister to make the same utterance outside the said Parliament. As the PM threatens to refer him, that's MP Keith Scotland, opposition MP, to the fraud squad. That story on page 7. Yesterday, lots of back and forth, but it wasn't as heated as obviously last Friday. And coming out of that, we're going to touch base with Derek Ramsamouche this morning, not only to treat with the mid-year budget review, but to do a deeper dive into parliamentary behavior. He is a political analyst, a historian, and he could kind of speak to if there would have been any point in our democratic journey thus far as a nation where the temperature was so hot, where the divisiveness, you could feel it not only in the parliament, but sometimes even with the people on the ground. I'm looking at some of the comments. If there's one thing, I would look at the coverage on our Instagram and our social media page. You look at the actual footage, you will hear these remarks from the members of parliament. But it's when you go through the comments, boy. And I don't go in all the time, but when you do a deep dive into them comments, you realize this place, it is on edge. And Derek Ramsamouche, we will treat with that later on. A matter of fact, that's going to take up the bulk of the first hour of discussion coming up after 7. The likes of Karen Nunes Teixeira, former finance minister, will also weigh in on the mid-year budget review. Of course, our conversations on cancer, we continue with that later on. Survivor steps in, and to bring up the end of the show, we will get some details concerning the One Light, One Destiny. It's a coming together of the Brahma Kamaris Raja Yoga Center. And that's happening at Queen's Hall, a matter of fact, on Thursday. Let's head to the back page, because not only is football in the air, cricket is also in the air. And we won a series. That's right. Congratulations to the West Indies, winning the series there in Sabina Park, Jamaica. Very happy for the boys. I mean, obviously, lots of focus on the cricket. But Joseph's career holders, big hitting, secure a memorable series win for the West Indies there in Jamaica. Congratulations to them. That's the victory in the T20 series over Sri Lanka. And I must say kudos to the West Indies team on this most amazing series win. I mean, granted, yes, we focus in on the football and we haven't had time with that, but we have to give the men in maroon credit when credit is due. And also, I have to say, I looked at the Iran game last night. The stadium there in California was in full voice. People were actually willing and backing Iran, and I'm saying, I wonder if this is some kind of message they're sending. Because we know the situation between Iran and the United States, and I have to say, even though their league would have been suspended, their back four did not play football since February, their goalkeeper did not play football for months, so many of the players would have been rusty, not really having that match readiness, as it were. They went out there and they had a good showing against New Zealand. As a matter of fact, I think they dominated for large portions of the game and could have actually won towards the end of it. So Iran off to a nice draw, and I guess it's only going to get more intense as the World Cup marches on. But indeed, what a beautiful point, historic point for Cape Verde yesterday, being able to draw against the mighty Spanish. As it pertains to the games later on today, I will share with you some of the details momentarily. Before we go there, let's head to the brief on this morning, Tuesday morning. And as we look at the brief this morning, a model displays a design from Zad and Eastman. This is at the Down Syndrome Family Network's Fashion With Us at the Hyatt Regency on Sunday. Well done. And of course, House returns to calm after last Friday's heated exchanges, and students, government supporters fill Parliament gallery during mid-year budget debate. It's the children I feel it for, you know. Look at the children there, you know, Parliament staff there, Atiba Wiltshire speaking to the Standard 1 students and Standard 2 students from the Ramal Trace Hindu Primary School during their visit. And, you know, to the parliamentarians, if any are looking on this morning, I want you to know that the children, granted, they might be small, they might not be able to ventilate all what's happening. They could still read the room. They could look at their phone, they could look at the news with their parents, and they would see in real time what's happening in the nation's highest court. And I really want some of the parliamentarians, when they conduct themselves, to consider the children. Consider that you too would have been innocent. You would have been a child, and you would have had a much better example back then. And the example back then was, even though much better, still very much within that political banter, and it would have had certain harsh moments. So you are probably a child of that generation, and look how you come out. You could imagine children of our generation watching the conduct of the adults now. Let's fast forward 15, 20, 30 years from now. What do you think is going to happen to these children if the example they're getting is worse than what you had when you was a child? I'm telling you, this nation, I'm not a person, people say I have a crystal ball, because I call it before it happened. But I anticipate, if we continue at this particular rate, and you know, I'm very cautious of what I say, I speak from the heart. But if we continue at this rate, we will go down the road of what we would have seen in countries in South Asia, countries in Africa. We would have seen people jumping over railing, running up to other parliamentarians. We've seen it also in Eastern Europe, you know, not only just South Asia and parts of Africa, all Eastern Asia, South America too, we have seen it, where it reached down to blows. Because let's think about it, after violent language, what happens after that? And to me, that's what I'm feeling. It's too intense. It's too intense, it's too heated, it's too venomous and divisive. So let's set a better example for the children who go and visit the parliament and looking on from the outskirts. Let's take that pause. Derek Ramsamouj steps in, political analyst, to treat with the media budget review, but more so we're going to treat with parliamentary behavior. That conversation is up next.
Ginger Mint, your trusted and natural wellness. Now with healthier options. KC Ginger Mint with honey and lime. KC Ginger Mint with orange and KC Ginger Mint with lemon. KC Ginger, honey, lemon, lime, and orange. Natural and trusted for generations for soothing sore throats and digestion and boost immunity. Get your new KC Candy Ginger Mint extended range today and breathe naturally.
We are your one-stop, most convenient, most helpful, most caring community pharmacy. Our pharmaceutical services include dispensing medicines, repeat dispensing, clinical governance. But we also have a fully stocked convenience store featuring our refreshment aisle, grocery lane, personal care products, toys, pet supplies. We are most conveniently located out of the traffic, just 2 minutes off the highway in Heartland Plaza in Deba Shaguanas. Contact us on 220-8705 or 470-5938 and visit us soon.
Magical Expressions Limited is the largest local importer and distributor of fresh cut stems, offering the widest range of beautiful flowers at the most affordable prices. Call us today at 701-6488 or visit our website to order.
Things don't always go as expected. Be ready with Trinry for auto, home, business and group life. Call us at 800-TRIN or visit trinry.com today. Huge insurance premium. Pay your premiums bit by bit with FlexiPay from Trinry. For more manageable auto, home and commercial insurance payments, call us at 800-TRIN or visit trinry.com today. Trinry, premier insurance coverage for less.
Get the story first. Want to know what's happening in news, sports, or crime? Get the CNC3 app. As the story breaks, CNC3 is there giving you the story first on your mobile device. Be connected to the most trusted and reliable news source, CNC3. Access your world with just a tap. The CNC3 app. Download it today.
Political analyst Derek Ramsamouj joins me on the Zoom line this Tuesday morning to unpack the media budget review. And later on, Derek, we get some perspective on parliamentary behavior. I look forward this morning to your counsel as always. Thank you for the time. Welcome.
Good morning, sir. Good morning to all your viewers, your listeners, and your staff.
What was your biggest... Oh, pleasure indeed. Pleasure is ours. What was your biggest takeaway from yesterday's media budget review, Derek?
Much to do about nothing. We must recognize that when the government changed slightly over a year ago, there was a high expectation that we will see a change in the economy, a change in the security, change being the operative word. We therefore expected a new government with such a mandate to utilize the resources of the state to better govern our society. We are having more of the status quo when it comes to managing the resources of the state and delivering value for money to the average family. It is somewhat surprising that in a political campaign, you will tend to bring about all your radical or rough changes to transform the society in year one and year two. And therefore, politically, you should have seen a change on how governance is managed, how the state resources are managed, how you would see a different type of delivery system. And what we saw was more of the same. We have yet to understand how we're going to finance a $60 billion economy, because that's what we'll be facing, without getting into further and further debt. So the debt to GDP ratio means that we are spending much more than we actually producing. Therefore, all your obligations under your political campaign must be honored. In the words of Bastille Pandey, the original UNC, a debt is a debt and must be paid. So we are going to have very challenging economic times as the politics continue to fail our society.
Well, Mr. Ramsamouj, I'm looking at the front page of The Guardian, and also based on the utterances of the finance minister, he's giving that pledge that wages owed to public servants will be delivered via the 2027 budget. Your take on that development? I'm seeing many would have said, okay, Edie Stewart from the Nurses Association said, you know what, we're willing to wait. But Tutor, they're not having it. He actually said, President Ash from Tutor, he find they're shifting the goalposts, as it were. But he's given that assurance that 2027, some of the outstanding monies would be paid out.
Well, first of all, what is the value of that money when you consider inflation is going to eat away at it? Secondly, more importantly, how are you going to finance it without putting the country into further debt? We must recognize the role of the teachers union like Tutor and the Nurses Association, because previous history suggested that they have caused severe political challenges to governments at different points in time in our history. So let's understand. We wanted to have a change. That was what people voted for, a change of how the economy has been structured. We have not yet seen that in any meaningful manner. And the further the government waits to bring about that change, the greater the probability of losing a political election, not necessarily to the PNM, but the country is in need of a restructuring simply because of the geopolitics in the region, as well as what we can afford.
Yeah. I'm looking at some other developments out of Parliament yesterday, and this is to deal with the Prime Minister's revelation of a TNTech no disconnect list, including the likes of former Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley, Opposition Chief Whip Marvin Gonzalez, and a couple of names here, mostly PNM folks here, and I'm seeing also where Keith Scotland, Member of Parliament, would have been mentioned. He's going to be, his name is going to be sent to the fraud squad. He went outside the Parliament and suggested that these remarks should be made outside the Parliament. When a Member of Parliament says, call my name outside the Parliament, well, for those who don't know what that means, what does that mean, Derek, and more so the allegations of this do not disconnect list from TNTech?
Well, okay, first of all, the perspective of this grand charge of call my name outside Parliament allows persons to basically take legal action if they believe that what has been said is incorrect. So you remove parliamentary privilege from maligning anyone. That's the major essence of it. Secondly, what we're seeing is a lack of morality and ethics within the parliamentary and governance structure. That is why we have this constant back and forth of, as they say, who steal or who did wrong things in and out of their term in office. But we should expect a different standard. As you pointed out, the younger generation who went to Parliament, as well as the Gen Z population, we must have a type of political behavior that is relevant to keeping the ethics of our society. If you look at United Kingdom recently, in the last couple of hours, the intent of the Prime Minister to basically look at whether kids under 16 years old will have access to social media. So our norms must change. And therefore, we must keep what has kept us stable, which is whatever agreements we may have had to govern the society, but we have to change how we govern the society, and that's what we expected. This type of rum shop behavior and warlike conversation in a already heated social society with crime and elements of racism not flowing from our parliamentarian mouths. Let's not fool ourselves. We have got to make certain types of language illegal, and we cannot allow to incite people based on ethnicity. And that's one of the disappointments. After a country has been independent for 50 years, we have yet to demonstrate the discipline and tolerance required in Parliament to create a productive society. We have the lowest type of language without any type of lifting the society to have a debate. We get better language in a rum shop at 11 o'clock in the night.
And that's a very scathing, I would say, criticism, and it speaks to the truth, Derek, to be quite honest, what we are seeing here. And I want to ask you, because I know that you've been around the political space for probably, for a long time, and you understand the dynamics and the shift. Is this the worst we have seen? Because I know they would have had titans over the years. We've had the likes of deceased Patrick Manning, deceased Pandey, two stalwarts, juggernauts of the political era. They would have sparred. You know, we had the likes of A.N.R. Robinson, George Chambers. We had so many big names, brand names over the years, throwing remarks. It was always, listen, there's no bouncy castle. Let's be real. There's no bouncy castle in the parliament. It's a place where they will have that political sparring. But based on from then to now, is this the worst of the worst we have experienced? Because last Friday looked like it was going to descend into an all-out brawl and a fight. I thought somebody's going to jump over the bench and there's going to be a WWE in the lower house. And it seems that the speaker is almost, I don't know if he's out of his element, out of his depth. I don't know what's happening. It is, to me, from my vantage point, one of the worst I've seen. But then I'm only here recently. You would have been around for quite longer. Is this the worst? Were we ever here before, to be quite honest?
We were not ever in this place. What we are demonstrating in Parliament to the entire world is a level of intellectual and political stupidity at best, or perhaps just a question of being sterile in terms of their way of thinking. We have now evolved into a set of bravado talk and no content. We have an economy that is in dire need of some sort of economic thinking as to how to restructure our economy as we move forward. If not, we will be in continued debt for the next 5 to 10 years. We have an economy that is no longer energy-based per se. We have lost the sugar element. So the foundations of our economy cannot be restructured by old talk in Parliament. I think what is more distasteful is empty vessels sounding off pure racist conversations. And I think that's the danger we face. Yeah. When you look at the Gen Z population, they don't have a clear idea of who Eric Williams was, Capilde was, Pandey was, A.N.R. Robinson was. They are not politically grounded in what a civil society should look like. We all talk about Singapore. I had some friends from Singapore, and the way the Singaporean thinks is fundamentally different from the Trinidadians, where we have stakeholders and shareholders raping our economy at the expense of the poor, and politicians who have gotten money from stakeholders to keep shareholders parallel to each other, unable to do what is right. We have no political backbone.
Yeah, I mean, we find ourselves, because we are a plural society, and we find ourselves in a very ticklish place. Yes, it's poetry in motion. It's a work in progress, this experiment that is Trinidad and Tobago. But from a leadership standpoint, you're hearing utterances and calling out of certain segments of the society, the 1%, You're seeing opposition MPs going on a platform and using words like hate. Them hate we hate them. And I'll be biased for you, meaning that if he was to get into office, well, is crapo smoke your pipe if you're on the other side of the divide? And I'm trying to figure out, aren't we all supposed to be Trinidad and Tobago, Trinbagonian? Why do we feel the sense of patriotism and love when we are far removed from the shores? So Derek, myself, you, a couple other brothers, if we bounce up in Orlando, we hugging up, we are brothers. But in Trinidad, all of a sudden, people have this line in the sand, and a lot of the remarks, it's almost race baiting, as it were. And I find it to be very unfortunate, and I wonder what's going to be the trickle-down effect as it relates to the society, with we, the population, looking on at the leaders acting in this way. Derek, are we in a very dangerous place?
Yes, we are. But we must also recognize that the leaders in Parliament are a minority when it comes to the voting population. And that is why the society must be able to find a mechanism of pushback. Let's be careful. We saw what happened in the 1970s. We saw what happened with the sugar riots. We could go way back to the time of Butler, for example. We saw what happened in 1990. This society has a capacity to react badly, and therefore we need leadership to calm the society. We need leadership who will say, for example, let's restructure the tax system. Let's look at the major financial institutions who basically are in a position of exploiting the average citizen. Let's look at how we use additional revenue to create a proper welfare system, not based on basically workfare per se, like how we have the CPEP and URP. Let's restructure how we deal with the people who are on the brink of poverty. How do we deal with their education, their healthcare, their food, for example, their housing? We cannot continue where statutory bodies who have failed our society for the last 50 years are continued being given money to generate the same type of sustainable poverty.
Well, you see, we find ourselves, Derek, and I'll let you continue, but I want to just put this little extra caveat inside there. When we look at The Guardian today, page 5, lots of the blame for our economic, I would say, downturn and what we experience, and based on the government's perspective through their lens, the blame is being put on the PNM. You know, we're seeing it here. There's a whole piece on page 5 that speaks to PNM being blamed for the economic decline that we find ourselves in current day. What's your reaction to that particular argument?
Well, again, that is how the government or how the state has structured its governance. Because in the coming months, we will also be hearing of the financiers of the UNC getting an above-average advantage when it comes to public procurement, especially in the construction and energy sector. So you have all these niceties called procurement legislation. But is it effective? And therefore, what you've had is the power elites, whatever terminology you choose to call them by, the power elites, ranging from the economic space to the gangs, the criminal gangs. They manipulate the state, or the politicians allow them to manipulate the state for voting patronage. And that is one of the matters that confront our society. Can we deal with, for example, renegotiate the energy sector? Can we deal with the financial sector with supernormal profits, not paying their fair share when they're getting subsidized water and electricity in their business places? How do we help the small businessmen open a bank account? How do we deal with the insurance companies? How do we deal with the shipping industry, for example? So you need leadership that is very serious of turning this society upside down. We have a cowardly approach to changing the status quo if it is going to benefit the nation and the people. if it is going to be to the disadvantage of the financiers of campaigns.
You know, speaking about the small man, when you consider the parliament and the structure, I would have been there. I spent a couple of weeks in the Senate, so I got a little experience. And if there's one thing I've recognized is that the parliamentary staff, they kind of hold their particular corner, and then the rest of politicians, at least back then, I would see the likes of, and I could call the names, I would see the likes of Wade Mark and Mr. Alwari at the time, going at it upstairs in the Senate. But downstairs, they're laughing and hugging up and sharing a glass of tea. So it was all, to me, theater happening upstairs, and it was a particular, almost like a members club downstairs. I don't know if that's the same scenario right now, based on some of the utterances. However, the parliamentary staff was never involved, and I want to find out this particular claim that the parliamentary staff is biased and wanting to take the pitch, and the whole fracas that happened last week based on parliamentary staff and their perceived bias. What's your take on that? Have you ever, in the history of our political journey, heard of parliamentary staff being called out for any wrongdoing?
I think it is unfortunate and not becoming of any parliamentarian, any minister, to attempt to intimidate the parliamentary staff. The parliamentary staff have served our country for decades, and there has never been any type of malice by their actions. They have done their jobs in the interests of the country. And this is the nonsense that our society is allowing to be put forward. And what is more troubling is the ineffectiveness of the opposition to defend our parliamentary procedures. And that is what is the most troubling thing. We've had politicians who've been in parliament who are intellectually brighter, much more articulate, understand the rules of the game, and can maneuver without being crass and ethnically biased by their behavior. And forgive me, as you rightly said, my first media appearance was in 1995 by a fellow journalist like yours. And I grew up in a place in which A.N.R. Robinson, Patrick Manning, Basdeo Panday were persons I would have had social interaction. And they had a particular type of class and breeding, which we do not see at this point in time. And what is more frightening is the Prime Minister, who is perhaps the most experienced person, sitting back and allowing nondescript people to bring our democracy into a very bad space. You know, that's a disappointing thing.
It is, and as we look at the footage, if we could put this up, Sheldon, we're looking at the footage. I don't know if there's audio, but we could actually see parliamentarians on their feet, right? We're looking at this in real time. They're on their feet, everyone is there standing, and there was a shouting match. And the speaker, he's there, sitting down, and to me, you know, he's playing referee. So I've phrased all this to kind of ask you your assessment of his performance thus far, handling these very heated and tumultuous situations, and just his overall conduct in the parliament to rein in that kind of behavior. What's your take on the speaker's performance thus far?
I think, one, it's a clear lack of experience of how to manage the affairs in parliament and to keep your sense of independence. I think there is a lot to be learned. For example, former Speaker of the House, Nizam Mohammed, when he basically put his rulings in a particular framework. We have had many good speakers who may have come from the politics, but when they adopted the role of speaker, acted impartially with a fair level of control. Again, we're seeing insecure human beings who are there because of political biases, singing for their supper. It could improve. It should improve. And I think that's where we have got to review how parliament procedures are conducted. Yeah. And this is important because the country is going to be at a crossroads. And if you want to avoid the society from being disruptive, you need to ensure that people trust the parliamentary procedure, never mind the banter. And they trust that when decisions are made, it is made in the interest of from Laventille to Mayaro to Tobago East, to the poor man, to the stakeholders, to the shareholders. And we are seeing an erosion of that. We're having this perspective. It's okay if we steal because it's my ethnic group stealing at the expense of governing our society. And that's why this budget that over the last 12 months, especially the midterm review, is much to do about nothing because it's repetition of the same without changing the structure of the economy. In an economic decline, if you do not change the structure of the economy, you're looking for levels of social instability.
Yeah, thanks for that perspective. Before we come out of the parliamentary behavior discussion, this morning in my opening monologue, and I've said it before on the program, now it's not something I want to see, but I wonder if the momentum and this particular divisiveness and this heat we are feeling, if we will go down the road of what we would have seen in parliaments in South Asia, in Africa, in South America, and Eastern Europe, where, God forbid, parliamentarians climb over desks. It was chair to face, microphone to jaw, all-out physical altercation. And I do not ever want to see that happen in Trinidad and Tobago. But my question is, if hypothetically we were to go there, would that be one of the saddest moments for our democratic journey so far? Because ultimately we are seeing where children are fighting. The place hot. You could feel the heat on the ground, and it's almost like I wonder if it's a trickle-down effect. And just generally, why is the place so tense and so hot?
First of all, the parliamentarians are cowards. They will never do anything that will cause injury to themselves in Parliament. Instead, they will use their supporters to come and march around Red House and pose in their suits taking a picture. The parliamentarians are political cowards. They have no standing with any pure belief system except power and money. What is problematic is if the society is allowed to be manipulated by parliamentarians, and there is any kind of open conflict in certain areas. That is why perhaps there has been a state of emergency and certain no-go zones. So avoid such a conflict. I think in reality, it's a lot of hot air, it's a lot of gun charging. It's like men playing stick fighting in the Gaia, so to speak. But I think that does not resolve our issue when it comes to dealing with our healthcare, with dealing with the inflation of food, when it comes to our people not being able to look after their families. Yeah. And I think that's the bigger message. The bigger message is, what do you do to ensure families are fed, basic food and healthcare and education are taken care of? Because the country is going to get fed up of excuses, and the country is going to get tired of political rhetoric, or it was the PNM fault, or it was the UNC fault. You wanted to be in office. You've had 10 years in opposition to plan. That's the UNC. You now have had over a year in office, 11 years, right? Time is running out. You either have the capacity to deliver and stop making excuses. And on the other side, the PNM's manner of governance, of increasing state patronage without productivity, has proven and demonstrated to be the problem that our economy faces. We're paying out money without productivity just to maintain peace in certain societies.
Yeah. Well, Derek, as always, great perspective. I must ask you before we wrap things up, as we go further afield and we look at some international developments, we would have seen where Iran and the U.S. would have signed a preliminary deal. Some of the details are still secret. Coming out of that signature, that signing, that touring out, as it were. What does that mean for us? I mean, we would have given, at least government side, given that public support to the U.S. and their particular foreign policy in that regard. What does this signing, this touring out, as it were, signal to Trinidad and Tobago? Could it impact us in any positive way at all, negative way? What's your take?
First of all, absolutely no consequence to the average Trinidadian. Secondly, ask me that question on November 4th, after the midterm elections, because all of the geopolitics positioning is designed to see who will win the midterm elections. If you see the return of the Republicans and you basically have Donald Trump remaining as president without being handicapped by the Senate or the Congress, then there may be certain positive consequences for us in terms of diplomacy. However, let's not fool ourselves. The energy sector, the gas that we all are hoping for, is in the sovereignty of Venezuela. And Venezuela will quicker do a deal with U.S. multinational energy companies than allowing Trinidad to be any benefit. Understand, this beggar cap in hand, hope for type of economic planning has been the demise and will continue to be the demise. We have not moved our energy sector in any serious manner except being an extractive industry. Look at the problems right now in Guyana, in which the multinationals are not allowing the state of Guyana to understand how much it is going to cost for the energy development. So we've got to develop a sense of economic independence and clear thinking. We've got to stop being global beggars at the multinational level or looking for United States to give us a handout.
Derek, as we wrap things up, I'll let you have your final word. Are we, as Trinbagonians, at a watershed moment? I mean, I believe, I'm feeling like we could either stay just kind of neutral, or we could go up, or we could find ourselves going down. I'm really trying to figure out where we are right now as a twin island state on this world stage.
For a country that has invested 50 years in education, there is no shortage of intellectual capacity and political willingness to do right by the people of Trinidad and Tobago. We just need to ensure that whoever you put into parliament or whoever run this country, there is a power elite beyond the politicians. And we need to have that discussion. We need to pull off the bandage and deal with our reality. I think there's always and will always be hope. The region is also looking for hope. If we have to move our people out of poverty, and I know we've been saying the same thing for 30 years, but you cannot throw your hands up in the air. We must deliver better healthcare, better food, cheaper living. We must restructure the tax system. We need a leader that has the intellectual capacity and the political willingness to only serve one term, but to put the country on the right path. And I think that's what we need. We probably need to ensure that no leader can serve, no person can serve more than one fixed term for a 5-year period. So there's no re-election argument.
Derek, as always, sincere thanks. We will touch base soon, and have yourself not only a great day, but a great week ahead. All the best.
My pleasure. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Political analyst there, Derek Ramsamuj, a man who really, as we say in local terms, the man he's talk franco man. He no word in his mouth at all. He will speak it, and let's see how things pan out in the weeks, months, and years ahead. And this beautiful poetry in motion experiment that is Trinidad and Tobago. We come back, we get into some of the housekeeping, and most importantly, Sagoni steps in with that weather update so we could know how to prep for today. I'm hearing there might be some rain, but she will confirm. We come back with some housekeeping after these.
Low energy? Heart concerns? Migraines slowing you down? It's time to take control of your health. Join Wellness Unlocked, the series that brings expert advice and real solutions for a healthier you. In our latest episode, learn how Jameson CoQ10 can help support heart health, boost energy, and even reduce migraines. Get the science, the stories, and the steps to power up your health with CoQ10. Don't miss Wellness Unlocked. Watch now on CNC3 and start your wellness journey today.
Looking for the ultimate gaming experience? Welcome to Phase 22 Gaming Lounge, where gamers of all ages come to play, compete, and have fun. Dive into your favorite games on PlayStation, Nintendo, Xbox, or race on our high-tech racing rigs. And experience the thrill of VR with PlayStation and Meta Quest. Our lounge is safe, comfortable, and perfect for everyone. When you're done, check out the latest gaming systems, accessories, and even Samsung and Apple phones. Visit us on the second floor of Gulf City Mall or call 786-2404 to book your gaming session today.
Sheikleisha Limited, the Caribbean's largest manufacturers of plain and printed paper bags, leaders in plastic bags, vermicelli, split piece powder, and greaseproof paper, ideal for doubles, french fries, and sandwiches. Supplying stores nationwide. For quality products, trust Sheikleisha Limited, 665-3336.
Heart disease is the #1 cause of death in Trinidad and Tobago, driven by 2 silent threats, diabetes and high cholesterol. But now there's a powerful ally, introducing Berberine Plus by Asia Nutrition, clinically proven to stabilize blood sugar and keep cholesterol levels in check. With 99.9% pure extract, you get superior absorption and real results. Available now at Pennywise and leading pharmacies nationwide. Berberine Plus, your heart deserves better.
I like that song. Play that song now. What's this? What's that? That's a groove there, boy. Oh, for real? Look at that. I think it's some kind of salsa, ready to salsa and merengue, you know? Well, you blow my mind there. That's real nice. I like that. Anyway, let's get into the housekeeping, ways you can book your spot and join me live on set, or like what Derek did, via the Zoom line. You're sending your email to tmb@cnc3.co.tt. Simple, short, concise, and I say, certainly we'll have you on soon. It's a short week, so if not this week, next week, guaranteed, yeah? See you soon. What about the social media handles? Instagram, Facebook, and X. That's right. We thank all those who follow, stay on top of the news, stay on top of all their current affairs, and certainly another platform to do such is on the CNC3 mobile app. So if you miss the Instagram, you miss the Facebook and X, for sure on the app, it's your #1 source for verified breaking news, all your favorite content there on demand. And we head across to the legacy product, The Guardian, Trinidad and Tobago Guardian. And I can tell you, inside today's copy, there is the entire speech here. As a matter of fact, it's the full speech is inside in terms of the media budget review. So we want you to visit guardian.co.tt to enjoy The Guardian on your desktop, tablet, or your mobile today. Let's take in our food for thought, words to inspire. When you reach the end of your rope, tie a knot in it and hang on. So they're saying when you reach the end of your rope, tie a knot in it and hang on. So I guess this speaks to resilience. It speaks to not giving up, to holding on, to hanging in there, to dealing with it. Oh, that keeper from Cape Verde dealt with it yesterday. I mean, he was up against it. Man pelt his frame. That man pelt his frame left, right, and center. He told himself, not today. Matter of fact, not only the keeper, the defenders too. That was a game. Spain, you could imagine people thought 7-0, 5-0. They say, yeah, food for all sportsmen and sportswomen looking on. When you bounce up a weaker opposition, you tell yourself, you lick your lips and you say, boy, food. You tell yourself you're going to have a time today. Was not the case. And that sometimes is one of the most frustrating kind of games because, you're supposed to win on paper. You are the dominant force. But on the day, if a team says, not today, it's not today. What a beautiful, beautiful game yesterday. Let's head across to the weather update. Sagoni, She steps in next. Good morning, Sagoni.
Hi there, I'm Sigoni Mohammed with your daily dose of weather. We are expecting a mild concentration of Saharan dust to remain in the atmosphere, but lingering moisture from a tropical wave has been the big player today, keeping us under partly cloudy to cloudy skies with occasional light and heavier showers over some areas. Now, there remains a chance of isolated thunderstorm activity, particularly from the morning, and that's going to run right through the early afternoon period. The good news is that conditions are expected to gradually improve later in the day, although a few lingering showers may still be around. So allow a little extra travel time and be prepared for sudden changes in the weather conditions. Now, for marine interests, seas do remain moderate, but conditions can become choppy in and around heavier showers and thunderstorms. Winds do remain steady and they are building slightly, so take note here. And a reminder that spring tide is in effect, so all marine interests should continue exercising caution, especially during high tides and nearshore activities. So keep the umbrella nearby and stay alert for heavier showers during the day. That's a wrap on the forecast. That's it from me.
Thank you, Sagoni. Up next, your 7 a.m. news update.
Gaming Express Limited is a premium importer and retailer of the highest quality brand name electronics. We stock the widest range of PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, Samsung, and Apple devices and accessories. Visit us at Shop 52, Level 2, Gulf City Mall in San Fernando, or contact us by phone or WhatsApp message at 687-7480 or 301-9797 or 798-1280. Like our Facebook and Instagram pages for updates on products and services. Step into ABC Doors and Windows, where quality meets variety. Discover premium wooden, steel panel, fiberglass, and steel security doors alongside aluminum, UPVC, and steel windows designed for strength and durability. At ABC, we're always a better choice, delivering products built to last and service you can rely on. Visit our showroom at 1 Chancotrace, El Socorro South, or call 638-7184 to make your dream home a reality.
Every day at the castle, long before we open our doors, our work begins. Our famous seasonings are mixed in advance. We select our fresh chicken parts and prep our delicious sides. Then we fire up the fryers and rotisserie oven. Everything is made with tasty local herbs, spices, and the same long-loved recipe since 1968. So, when you come in, remember that we uphold our culture and our taste. Just for you. We are your Royal Castle.
The Israelite Church of God in Jesus Christ, teaching the truth about God's people, God's plans, and the secrets of God, all written within the pages of the Holy Bible, which is the Word of God.
Watch The Hidden Truth every Thursday at 5:30 a.m. to 6 a.m. on CNC3.
Visit Tire Clinic Marketing, New Truck and OTR Tire Service Center at number 30 and 32 Montrose Main Road, Chaguanas. Call today at 665-8973 or 672-3419. Alignment services available. Tire Clinic Marketing, Truck and OTR Service Center. A tire for every need.
Treat Dad like a king this Father's Day with a gift from PRW. Get a Samsung 75-inch TV, only $8,535. PS5 console game, only $4,800. Samsung A9 tablet, $1,199. JBL soundbar, $1,968. Printers from $650. Blenori Droom X60, only $786. Party speaker box, $2,500. Call PRW today.
The detergent smells nice while washing, but when you use the new Downy Intense fabric softener, with its new multi-capsule fragrance, it releases an intense scent that lasts twice as long. With the new Downy Intense, you'll enjoy a rich and delightful fragrance that keeps you feeling fresh 24/7.
Time check. Brought to you by the Central Bank and the National Financial Literacy Program.
A very good morning. I'm Akash Samaru with headline news on CNC3 and the TBC radio network. Former Finance Minister Colm Imbert has accused government of taking credit for the country's improved Moody's outlook from negative to stable, arguing that the decision was driven by higher oil and gas prices linked to conflict in the Middle East, rather than the government's handling of the economy. He also accused the government of understating the country's fiscal position, saying it had deliberately projected a false deficit that would later require billions in supplementary funding.
That's not what's abnormal, Mr. Speaker. What's abnormal is that a government cooks the books, projects a false deficit, knowing fully well that they have to come back later in the year and supplement the appropriation by billions of dollars. That is abnormal. That is abnormal. And the minister is now confessing that the deficit this year will be at least $7 billion. I suspect it will be more.
The private aircraft, which went missing after leaving St. Vincent on Friday, destined for Tobago, has been found. Authorities in St. Vincent confirmed the small airplane was located yesterday and its 2 occupants were unharmed. No information was revealed about where the plane was found nor the nationalities of those aboard. The disappearance of the plane shortly after taking off from the Argyle Airport in St. Vincent sparked a regional response, with multiple agencies in Trinidad also getting involved. Flight Radar 24 showed the aircraft had made several trips between the Argyle and Canouan airports in St. Vincent days before departing the island. The opposition has written to House Speaker Jagdev Singh seeking answers over allegations of bias involving parliamentary staff and concerns about the conduct of Leader of Government Business Barry Padarat. The opposition said it learned through a newspaper report that formal complaints had been made about bias, partiality and professionalism among parliamentary staff, including claims that government members' microphones were muted during House proceedings. The opposition said it was never informed of any such complaints and is now seeking details on whether they were investigated and what findings were made. The letter also raises concerns about an incident where Padarat was allegedly seen photographing or recording a parliamentary staff member while the officer was carrying out official duties. The PNM has asked what measures are in place to protect parliamentary staff from conduct that could be perceived as intimidating or coercive. Well, stay tuned for another news update at the top of the hour and for comprehensive coverage in our midday news and major newscast at 7 p.m. on CNC3.
You shop it, you stock it, now it's time to own it. Introducing the West Indian Traders Limited Initial Public Offering. Your opportunity to become a shareholder in the company that delivers the brands you know and love. Offer extended to June 22nd, 2026. And your minimum investment is only $100. Visit goipo.jncb.com to review the prospectus and apply today. The lead broker and arranger is NCB Merchant Bank Trinidad and Tobago Limited. Conditions apply.
Welcome. I'm so happy to get into the second hour and even more ecstatic because one of my favorites, she joins me on the Zoom line this morning. I know normally she would make the time to be here in studio, but I could imagine the pace. But still, we are thankful for the perspective. I look forward to the council, and it's great seeing you. I thought you were away on a cruise, Karen Nunes Teixeira. I didn't see you for a minute.
Well, yes, I was away, not on a cruise, unfortunately, for me, that I was on a cruise.
Yes.
But yes, I was away for quite a while, yes.
Well, great to have you back with us, of course, in your capacity, understanding the dynamics and the flow of the monies. As I want you to put on your former Minister of Finance cap and just walk us through what you heard yesterday via the mid-year budget review, your biggest takeaway coming out of the utterances of Minister Tanku.
Right, so I got his speaking notes, so which would have been more helpful because they're more permanent. So I got that, and I think someone sent me some sort of indication of where he felt that the government had succeeded in bringing the economy back to a positive position as he saw it. I don't think that's correct. the macroeconomic indicators which show you the health of a national economy do not support that. And from my point of view, again, looking at the speaking notes, too much time, in my view, was spent on cherry picking and critiquing not just the former administration, but the party, the PNM. He's very specific about that. So what do I think that has happened? Of course, you're going to ask me questions, but first thing is the revenue supplementary appropriation bill is what it is often referred to as a mid-year review. The budget for the national economy for the fiscal year was presented, I think, in late September. So it's 1 year. And usually, from my experience as a minister, what would happen is that your projection, because you're projecting your revenue, definitely, and your expenditure, based on the price of oil and gas, because we are an energy economy. And sometimes we do not get that right. Sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse. And various ministries will make demands of the government for expenditure. And during the year, you might have to reduce the demand that they are making, whatever ministry it is. And at the mid-year review, if things have turned out better than anticipated, or the other way around, you are able to adjust or supplement by way of adjustment, whether downward or upward, that appropriation bill and pass as an appropriation act, which is essentially government's bank account in the consolidated fund, out of which you appropriate funding for the various state enterprises as well as ministries. So that's where we are now. Looking at the mid-year review, we are at the midpoint, as indicated by the term mid-year review, and looking to see how the government has fared so far in terms of managing the national economy.
So you don't think there is any validity in the finance minister's, I guess, blaming, as it were, of the current situation on what happened in the past? Because, again, he was very specific. He said that the PNM administration would have left behind a weakened institutions, deteriorating infrastructure, revenue collection agencies plagued with underinvestment, and a fiscal position that required urgent correction. Is he fair in his analysis of where we were and where we are at this point in time? When they're in office for a year and a couple of months.
Yeah, not an hour, definitely not an hour. But to answer your question, those are broad generalizations, and you get no specifics. So I can say the same thing he said, and I guess if the other administration would say, they could say the same thing. So you want to put their feet to the fire and see, well, what does that mean? So don't tell me what the former administration did unless it directly impacts your ability to move forward. What you have to say is, what have you done? And what you have done is that you projected a revenue position which is far beyond what the reality was. And why you did that, you probably can answer that. We are an energy economy, so we base our budget, our national budget, based on the pricing for oil and gas. We are a natural gas economy, so more so natural gas. Why don't we talk about what his projection? His projection was $4.25 per MMBTU British thermal units for natural gas, when in fact it has turned out to be more in the vicinity of $3.50, which is more in line with what the former administration had said the price of natural gas was going to be. So because of that, immediately you see that the budget revenue is not going to be what the government would have projected to the national economy, up to the country. So it is below the projection. That's natural gas. Let's look at crude oil. Yes, they closed on Petrotrin, and that obviously had a great impact on foreign exchange. It also because you may make crude oil has vacillated between as high as over $100 to $97. I spoke last week, it was $97. This week, I think it's Brent crude, which is what we tie our oil prices to, is about $85. What did he say that the price per barrel of oil was going to be anticipated? He put it at, I believe, $73 something, which is below what the former administration had done. What that meant is that his take on what the budget of revenue was going to turn out to be was not as positive as he had anticipated. We did not receive $4.25. We were far below the 425 because that's not what natural gas is trading at. When it comes to crude oil, yes, the crude oil prices were higher, but remember, most of the crude oil is based on refined fuel, whether it's aviation, gasoline, or diesel. Yes, the refinery was shut down, and as a result of which, we do export the crude oil, so we do get some foreign exchange there. But when we have to re-import that crude oil as refined fuel through pirate trading, then whatever gains we've gotten on the revenue is lost. So the revenue position, and it was reflected actually in the budget. When he broke down the budget into oil and non-oil revenue was something like 11 point something billion, and non-oil revenue, what is that? Taxation and borrowing, and that's what this government has done. They have taxed and taxed and taxed and taxed. So, and what's the consequence of that taxation? I do know that it's had a positive impact on the economy, generally speaking. If you read the central bank report, the monetary policy report for May 2026, this just last month, you would see that the outcome in terms of the consumer confidence, business confidence, has been negatively impacted, and on a large extent by the same thing that he has spoken so positively about: the surcharges, the landlord registration fees, all those, the electricity and water subsidies, all the things that the minister spoke about in a positive way.
Well, Karen, I could say, I mean, we can all relate to the tough times, but in all fairness, I think that clearly, based on what we are seeing with Moody's and others, the government clearly would have been able to stable the ship, because even the chamber, and this is the TNT, the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber, they are suggesting here that fiscal progress must now translate into business growth. And they went on to establish that there are some positive international signals emerging from recent months. Of course, Moody's revision of Trinidad and Tobago's outlook from negative to stable, the country's removal from the European Union blacklist, stronger financial performance by NGC. It all points towards a kind of attractive new investment and sustainable growth, actually, for Trinidad and Tobago.
Right, and so I understand what you said there. Let's go back to Moody's. Just a week ago, I believe, Moody's, I think it's only this month, that Moody's changed the outlook from negative back to stable. And the main indicators for them was that the natural gas was going to increase, production was going to increase. That's nothing new. In all fairness, the former administration did say by 2027 we'd get increased production from the Woodside gas discoveries, whether it was Ginger, Manatee, and so on. So that was anticipated, and they did build that into the reason why. They also looked at the HSF, which is has about 25% of the GDP. That was something that was already existing. What have they done that that would have been different? That would have caused the Moody's to change its position regarding the outlook for Trinidad and Tobago. The fiscal, you are right, fiscal sustainability, which means taxation. They are obviously positive, have a positive view of what the government has done in terms of trying to create fiscal discipline, and that has impacted them. But more than that, I think, would be the production expected from these Manatee, from Ginger, and so on. Also, you have Exxon, which is now operating in the ultra-deepwater bid, which again, they expect to see an increased production of natural gas, because that is our main problem. We are energy economy, and of course, the promise of diversification, and that is through that waterfront project. Mm-hmm. So you do see that being a positive, but I think more than anything else is the HSF and the fact that there are positive developments in natural gas and increased production is anticipated. Yes, that is what Moody's has said, but you would have read only about a week ago, because I was on another program just a week ago, and Moody's was, I think the government said that they were no longer going to participate in any rating by Moody's, and Moody's response was that they were not able to get the information in order to make up an informed rating. And they mentioned, among other things, was that excessive dividend payments was a matter of concern concern for them, the lack of information coming from NGC, which is a major player in the energy sector and therefore in our economy. And they did mention their concerns about the lack of information, so that, it's a very dynamic situation. Yes, I will say that you will see that there's something for the minister to be positive about, but the economic indicators do not support him. And that is what I will have to look at. And those indicators go to debt to GDP. Those indicators look at growth, real growth in our economy. Those indicators look at the unemployment rate and labor force participation rate. All of those look at inflation versus cost of living. All of those indicators do not look positive to me.
Karen, I want to move further afield with international development. And of course, it's no secret that our government's position, it's aligned, as it were, at this point in time with America's foreign policy. And coming out of that, we would have seen where engaged in conflict with Iran. We supported the U.S. with that particular arrangement. And now there is this throwing out a preliminary signature. We're not too sure of the details, much of it very much a secret still. But coming out of that signature yesterday, and I'm seeing where the U.S. president is in Europe as we speak, and they're going to work out some more details. This, I would imagine, would be a good look, a good time. Could it impact us in any way? Or this is just geopolitics playing out and we're just putting our mouth in big people business?
Well, I do hope not. And in fact, the monetary policy report of 2026 from the central bank devoted a significant part of its report to the impact of that Iran-Israel war in which the United States has been involved, in which 20-25% of the energy products, so to speak, that goes to Europe or Asia has been stymied because of that strait being blockaded, as well as, so it has had a definite impact on energy, and therefore has increased energy prices. To what extent have we benefited? From my reading of it is that, number one, it's early days. I believe the agreement has to be signed in June, later this month in Switzerland, later this month, yes. So we're coming close to it. But apart from that, there is a lack of, I don't want to say specifics on exactly what that agreement will turn out to be for Trinidad and Tobago. What we do know is that the crude oil seems to be the greater beneficiary of that so-called Iran, U.S., Israel blockade impasse. It seems like crude oil. And the issue with Trinidad with the crude oil is, one, at least from a budget point of view, the price of crude oil for Brent, which is what we are tied to, is still trading pretty low. It's not trading what we anticipated, at least $85, as I said. In addition to that, it is the refinery has closed. Yes, this government did not close down the refinery, and that is an important fact that has to be borne in mind. We have to consider, so that the foreign exchange that you would earn, which is important for Trinidad and Tobago, from the export of crude oil, yes, we get some benefit as the Iran war comes to an end, and therefore prices should be reduced, but still $85 is still much lower than what it was over $100 just a week or 2 weeks ago. But the problem with that is that once that crude oil is exported, it has to be refined, and we re-import it. And we re-import that crude oil as aviation oil, diesel, and gasoline. And therefore, we are having to pay for that at foreign exchange, our foreign exchange. So to what extent are we benefiting from the closure, from the end of this so-called war, in terms of our oil prices, when we do not refine our oil? And that is where the money is made. We do not refine our oil. We have to import that oil. And when we import that oil, we have to pay foreign exchange. So I'm not quite sure how we will benefit. With natural gas, all the indications are that natural gas does not equate in terms of its of pricing with the oil. It's tied to the oil, but it's not equivalent in terms of how it's affected by what is going on in the Middle East. And we're seeing still that natural gas prices are still hovering in the 315 per MMBTU, and even anticipated to go even lower down for a number of reasons that oil and natural gas are not the same in terms of pricing.
Well,
so the end of that war, how is it affecting us? Natural gas. The minister said 425. Are we going to see 425 for natural gas? Whether or not this end of this war or not, I don't think so. With the crude oil, yes, maybe we'll see an increase or lowering, but to what extent it affects us when the refinery is closed.
Karen, I want to shift it to the local parliamentary situation. And again, thank you so much for that perspective there as it relates to the oil and where we are. But I want to ask you on a personal level, and if you could just speak to your lived reality as it pertains to parliamentary conduct. When you sat in the lower house, were you ever involved in any kind of shouting match, or more so, did anybody ever come at you in any aggressive way, and how did you treat with it? Because I want to get your perspective, and then we go to the current reality. So when you sat there, were you ever involved in any kind of back and forth? What was the mood like in your time when you sat in the lower house in your capacity as Minister of Finance?
So Jason, you want me to be straight with?
Yeah. I mean,
meaning that I would tell you when the first, particularly those two settings, I was shocked. I won't say who the member of the opposition was at the time, but what he said, I mean, but of course that was not mic'd. That was before the parliamentary session had begun. But what he said shocked me, actually, because it was so personal and was directed to one of my colleagues. So I saw that. I also saw it with another current opposition member. Now they're a member of government now. They're now a government member, but at the time we were the government, and I remember Prime Minister Manning, whatever the issue was, again, it was direct personal attack, which was televised. Prime Minister Manning did say to the person who was the subject of that ridicule, when he came to speak, he said, listen, I don't want any, I don't know if you use the word back or not, but I don't want any of that give and take, that vulgarity. You tone it down. You may be angry, but I don't want that. So how was it different? It was different in that Mr. Manning would not tolerate that. He would not. I mean, you would be pulled up. You didn't do it because you didn't want to be pulled up. He didn't do it. He led by example, and he certainly would have called you in and spoken to you. So you knew not to do it. So to answer your question, I saw the now government, which was the then opposition, at least two members I clearly remember speaking in a manner that, it was vulgar. I will say, though, in all fairness, there were persons who did not do that. One in particular was Mr. Pandey. Mr. Pandey was, as he always is, very charming. But generally, what was the mood? The mood was, there was that level of personalized attacks, perhaps because it was not televised and the mic didn't pick it up. So maybe we didn't know that, but I knew as a new person in the parliament, new to the parliament, I was really shocked.
So more or less what we're experiencing now is just the continuation of what's been a trend for clearly a long time. Because what we're seeing right now, I don't know if you're quite aware of some of the conduct and what transpired actually last Friday, where there was the shouting match. As a matter of fact, if we put the B-roll up, you could just look at the footage. There's no audio here, but you could actually see parliamentarians on their feet, pointing at each other. The speaker trying to rein it in. He's clearly out of his depth. Seems to be like a fish out of water, to be quite honest. And all of this stemmed from a microphone being muted and pictures being taken. Look at this. I mean, this is fish market behavior, Karen Nunes Teixeira.
Yes, I have never. So you're coming to ask me directly and more specifically about how they conduct physical conduct too. No, I have never seen anything like that. I've never experienced anything like that. I gave you examples. As I said to you, I was new to Parliament, so perhaps the ones who had been there before would not have been been taken aback by what the conduct of what was said. I was taken aback because I had not experienced it myself. But all in all, I certainly did not experience what you just showed me. And the whole issue with the mic behavior and my understanding of taking a photo, this is what I understand, of the person who controlled the audio and ensuring that it was seen by the public. I had never seen anything quite like that. And it seems that we have reached a point where they are of no return, because whoever is leading on either side of the aisle, I'm not sure that they're able to get the respect that they should get, or the command the respect or demand the respect from members. Or maybe, I don't know what is driving it, but it certainly is conduct that would not have been allowed, at least on our side, at the time when I was there. I can only speak for when I was there.
And how does this divisive behavior, as let's wrap things up, trickle down to the wider public? What's the sense and the mood you're getting from the population when you touch your ground, Karen?
I mean, I think it's fairly obviously been going on for a few years now. I mean, obviously, one example you said is the young people. We're seeing it in the way the conduct, the social behavior of persons, and they feel that. I mean, look at that incident that we read about, where I think it was a counselor coming to part a fight between school students.
Or the alderman, Yeah.
The alderman, and turn on him. I mean, that was unheard of, the lack of respect. That's where it is. I mean, what is driving a lot of this is a lack of respect. That is where it has reached. And when you lose respect for each other, then you expect anything. And you're seeing that reflected in the schools, you're seeing that reflected in what is reported in the media. And I think that alderman issue, where the person who you should have regard and respect for, that the young people do not feel they need to show that regard and respect. I don't know if that would have been the same position they would have taken, say, 10 years ago. So yes, you're seeing the conduct be not just being divisive, but bordering on vulgarity and bordering on all it's like a marketplace, and obviously you're not setting the right example for the young people.
Karen, what's your advice as we go back to this whole issue of media budget and economy and where we are as a nation? If you were to advise, let's say, the groundsman, the groundswoman at this point in time, the grassroots man and woman, on their particular spend in this ever-changing and ever-moving economy, what's your advice in that regard for those looking on this morning? Just to your personal spend.
My personal?
Yeah.
Well, if you want me to go on my personal view on this matter, which is not, hopefully it's not political, it may be seen that way, but I think that closure of CPEP, URP, Forestry Division, people are the most vulnerable and the lower income, persons who, especially women, who are responsible for families, responsible for children, to close that down and to have that as your response. When it was Petrotrin, you criticized the government for closing down Petrotrin rather than restructuring Petrotrin. Why couldn't you do the same thing with CPEP and URP? And the argument, you asked me my personal view, and the argument about corruption, was there corruption under various administrations? What is that the way you deal with the corruption? And added to that is the taxation. The taxation now, you're no longer employed. You're now facing taxes and taxes and taxes. I mean, you name it, they have a tax for it. And it's clear that it's part of the revenue generation for this government. So for the persons who are the low, and then you have the impact of the maximum propensity to consume, meaning that the persons at the lower income are really the drivers of the economy, because they can't save, they can't invest, they have to spend. And when they spend, they pass on and they have the multiply effect. So what would I say to these people? I say mostly the government. That thing about public assistance and targeted social spending and so on, you are going back to the days where persons will given handouts and hopefully they had political loyalty, because that is how it has been used by both administrations. What I'd like to see reopening of the CPEP and URP projects. I'd like to see an opportunity for them to contribute and be employed as they were before. And that you look at the issues with all those programs from within the structure, and what is wrong with how the structure, rather than punishing, as I see it, the persons who are the most vulnerable and most needy in our society. I think that is one of the biggest mistakes this government has made. And it's, to me, if I'm really being honest with you, I consider that a sort of betrayal, because I do believe that persons felt that when we win, everybody wins. I do believe that the persons who have been affected by that decision making are the persons who were employees of those programs. And to see them now on the breadline, and to see them now facing taxes that they simply cannot manage, it is very, I consider that, personally speaking, a major error a blunder error of this government.
Karen Nunes Teixeira, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for coming on this morning, and hopefully it will not be so long again until we touch base. All the
best. It's up to you, JW.
We'll make it happen soon. All the best.
Okay, take it. Thank you.
That's right. Karen Nunes Teixeira, touching base. What a morning. It's been some really impactful conversations, and we're going to continue with that via our conversations on cancer. It's Cancer Survivor Month, and I welcome Merle Ali. She will join and share her story next.
Discover the taste of tradition with Fine Choice Meats. Our products are made with locally grown chickens, raised on a healthy low-fat diet with no added hormones or steroids. Our commitment to quality guarantees a delicious and nourishing culinary journey. From our farms to your family, choose Fine Choice Meats.
Period nights don't have to look like this. Move less, wake up to change. So change for a real night's sleep with Always Overnight. Its 3 times protection system absorbs, locks the fluid, and keeps it away from your skin. For protected nights without leaks. Always.
West Indian Traders will be kicking off our 30th anniversary by offering an IPO to the public.
West Indian Traders Limited is an exciting opportunity because you are getting the best of both worlds. You are getting an established business with 30 years in operation, but one that is still experiencing significant growth, and you don't get that every day. So for the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange SME market, this will be the first time investors will get exposure to the fast-moving consumer goods industry, which has a lot of growth potential in Trinidad and Tobago.
NCB Merchant Bank was chosen as the lead broker and arranger because of their expertise in the market and their high level of experience through their management staff.
The best time to start investing is yesterday. The second best time to start investing is today. And if you're going to start with West Indian Traders Limited.
You can make your goals unfold, go get it. You can live your dream, join the team, let's do this. You can get the help you need to succeed with Run Credit Union. You can believe that you can achieve. Big goals, small ones too. Run Credit Union, we've got you. No more waiting, that won't do. Make someday today. One life, so make it good. Live the way you know you should. With Run Credit Union, yes you could. Make someday today.
Live your best life today with Rand Credit Union.
Lucozade, bring the energy. Unbeatable taste, new look.
Conversations on cancer on this Tuesday morning, and we welcome Merle Ali. She joins me on the Zoom line. Merle, I want to thank you for being here this morning, for sharing with us your story and what I know would be inspirational, hope, bringing hope to those looking on this Tuesday morning. Merle, great to see you. Good morning.
Good morning, Jason. It is a pleasure to be on with you this morning and to have a viewing audience on this morning. So I take it a great pleasure. I consider it a great pleasure to be with you this morning.
Yes, indeed, and it is our pleasure indeed. Let me ask you, Merle, walk me through your reasoning and I guess that particular momentum to be so transparent, to share your story, to share everything you've been through, and because I know many, when they are faced with a diagnosis, it's that personal, I mean, you will have support, yes, but you have to deal with this on your own, and there are many who sometimes remain very private, very quiet about it, but you're clearly transparent, you're open. Walk me through that thought process.
My background is a nurse. I'm a registered nurse and retired at this point in time. And I have met so many people in my career of persons living with all kinds of cancers. And even in, the incidence of cancer is more common than we imagine. So I believe every family can relate to having someone who have walked this journey, who have gone through this journey. And why be secretive about it? I believe it is important for us to share our stories so that others will be encouraged. Years ago, cancer used to be thought of something with such a strong stigma that people would not even want to talk about it. So I believe we need to have more conversations about cancer. We need to be more open and deal with the issues, and so be helped in our journey, and also take the necessary precautions to prevent cancer, and if we have gone through some form of cancer, to take the necessary measures in taking care of our health and doing, what would help to boost our standard of living and lengthen our days and make life more fruitful, more enjoyable, and, productive, so that we don't see it as a death sentence, but a reason to live and live productively.
As you mentioned, that reason to live, how important was early detection in giving you that fighting chance, that reason to live?
I'm so glad you asked that, because I suspected that something was wrong for quite a while. I have had various tests, mammogram and ultrasound, and just had that gut feeling something is not wrong. No, it was breast cancer I had to deal with. And these tests proved, it did not show exactly that I had cancer. However, I felt I needed to go a bit further, that despite these tests, let me go and have an MRI. And it was then that a lump was detected in my breast. So I am glad that I took that initiative and go that extra mile and be detected for having cancer. So I was able to pursue early treatment, and thank God I did that. That was back in 2016. Now it's 2026, 10 years ago, and I thank God that He gave me that presence of mind to not just be settled with the test that was given to me, but to pursue it. And that is what I would encourage other women and other persons who may suspect that something is going wrong with your body, something is not in alignment, to just seek second opinion, third opinion if necessary, and be educated and take the initiative and take care of your body, for sure.
Well said, Merle,
Yes.
because I always hear medical professionals speak to the concept of listening to your body.
Yes.
Let's dive a little bit deeper. Could you recall what it is you felt that was a bit off, or if somebody's looking on, probably if there's a particular red flag that you're listening to your body and something doesn't feel correct, and you need to probably, as you would have done, go a bit further with the testing?
Yeah, I felt that heaviness. I felt, something that was abnormal, and it's just that gut feeling that something is not right, and I needed to take it further. So we have to follow our gut feeling, and I believe the Holy Spirit in us guide us to make right decision and guide us along life pathway in making decisions, everyday walk, so that we will do the right thing to take care of our health. Yes.
Who was your support system, Merle, during your diagnosis and treatment?
Well, my husband is a tower of strength, and he's a pastor, by the way. That's Bishop Hazrat Ali. He was such a strength to me and my family, my siblings, my family on a whole, and my church family. So that was a tremendous support for me, and I was glad that I had that support, and I felt really reassured and confident that all will be well. So I will say my church family and my husband and family, yeah, definitely.
At any point you had doubts, Merle? I mean, as much as you would have had the support, you had the early detection, were there any moments where, I mean, again, you have to carry this on your own and you're going in, I would imagine, for treatment. Just walk me through if you had any dark moments at all on this journey.
Oh, dark moments for sure. When I got a diagnosis, I remember collecting the result in an envelope and I thought, let me see what it is. And I was confident that everything would be all right. And when I opened it, I was there alone in the office. And I remember the young lady said to me, we had a lot of tests done and only yours came up like that. I mean, that wasn't very reassuring. And it just hit me as a ton of bricks. I just felt all kinds of emotions entered my being. And I just did not know what to do. Fortunately, my husband was close by outside of the office, and he was there. And I remember calling my dear friend, Dr. Maria Remy, and she reassured me there on the spot. And I felt good, and I was able to see the radiologist, and he explained options, which I immediately pursued. So from being diagnosed in December, by February, I was able to have a surgery. So yes, I did have those dark moments, and even after the test, you wondered if everything would be all right. You wondered about the radiation and the medication that is given, if there would be side effects that could be, very devastating. However, with prayer and with a support system of friends and family, I believe I was able to pull through, and thank God up to today, my tests are negative, and I believe a lot of it is dependent on taking good care of your health, because I try to eat the right things, do the right things, and to preserve my health and enjoy that standard of living where I can function normally and have the zest for life that I believe we should have, regardless of our diagnosis. Live every day productively and just trust God through it all.
Yes, Merle, indeed. Well said. What words of encouragement you want to say to anyone looking on this morning who might be going through their own battle with cancer, going through the treatment, and might find themselves also every now and then in that dark place?
Yes, I will say that to believe in yourself, to trust God, to tap into your resources, be educated, and find value in your family, and just be strengthened in what you do, and take care of yourself. Don't travel this journey alone, but to just take those along who you can trust, believe in, and be able to be strengthened in the process. And most of all, believe in your God. Believe in the prayer, that He is able to keep you and to strengthen you and to help you and to live a fully productive life. And what we eat and what we put into our body, be it in the physical, be it in the spiritual, in the emotional, is so important for us so that we can live productively and do what is necessary to just enjoy life to the fullest and never give up, and surround yourself with people who will encourage you and give you all what it takes to go through in life. But most of all, believe in yourself, because sometimes you depend on people and they can fail you. But when you know that you can trust in God and trust in yourself, that you can go through life and feel like you can make it. Yeah, so we all can. And the support system, especially like with the Breast Cancer Society and the Survivor Support Group, that is so important. And I love the synergy that takes place to support each other. So we need each other, and we can go through this together. And early detection is so important. Yes. Don't neglect the signals in your bodies, and pursue it and take good care of your health. So,
Merle Ali, thank you so much for being so open, so transparent, for sharing with us your survivorship story. I know you have inspired so many this morning. All the best, Merle. Thanks for touching base.
Thank you very much, Jason, for having me on. God bless you.
God bless you too. Merle Ali touching base with us. From that important conversation, we get you ready for a tremendous engagement that's happening on a Thursday at the Queen's Hall. We get you ready for the One Light, One Destiny. Full details after the break.
Welcome to Holiday Inn Express and Suites.
Do enjoy, Stacey. You want some coffee?
Can I have a bit?
Perfect then.
That's exactly what we need.
Hey, the pool is this way.
Whatever you're here for, we're here for you. Stay smart at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites.
You can make your goals unfold, go get it. You can live your dream, join the team, let's do this. You can get the help you need to succeed with Brand Credit Union. You can believe that you can achieve. Big goals, small ones too. Brand Credit Union, we've got you. No more waiting, that won't do. Make someday today. One life, so make it good. Live the way you know you should. With Brand Credit Union, yes you could. Make someday today.
Live your best life today with Rand Credit Union.
This season, Ask the Doctor is at a new time. It's your weekly prescription for trusted medical advice. In the Doctor's Capsule, Dr. Tilak Singh breaks down big health topics clearly and simply. Get a dose of smiles in the Kiddies Capsule as our youngest experts share health tips with heart. Explore the science behind the headlines in Medical Minds, featuring real doctors, real insight, and your questions matter. Join the open forum live and get answers straight from the source. Ask the Doctor, every Thursday at 8 p.m. only on CNC3. Get the story first. Want to know what's happening in news, sports, or crime? Get the CNC3 app. As the story breaks, CNC3 is there giving you the story first on your mobile device. Be connected to the most trusted and reliable news source, CNC3. Access your world with just a tap. The CNC3 app. Download it today.
Sportsmanship is when an athlete walks off the court and you can't tell if he won or lost because he carries himself with pride either way. This quote is an embodiment of sport, and for me, sport is an embodiment of life. We are where you are.
Significant milestone, and I want to say commendation and of course happy 50th anniversary. It's going to be a spiritual service in terms of the Trinidad and Tobago and Caribbean experience for the Brahma Kumaris Raha Yoga Center, and I want to welcome the Kubanali team with me. Matthew's back with me, of course Aaron is back with us. Guys, I mean, I interviewed so many. I was saying to the team that, you know, many people come through, and I remember our conversations. I remember the energy. It's something you feel when you all step in the room, guys, and I want to say commendations and kudos in advance. I know Thursday will be a great coming together. I'm seeing Queen's Hall is the location, so I want to start off by saying welcome again, good morning. And I could probably start with Matthew as to some of the details as we ready up for Thursday at Queen's Hall.
Yeah, so the program is going to be Thursday between 5 to 7 p.m. The theme is One Light, One Destiny. So around the world, we're actually celebrating this theme. So we saw it suitable even to having that in Trinidad, which is we are trying to, even though it's our 50th anniversary, our aim at the Brahma Kumaris is always to instill a type of consciousness, to change the consciousness of people towards something more positive, something more vibrant. And so this theme of one light, one destiny, what that really means is if we could guide people towards connecting to one light, which is what we see as God, right? And we start to transform ourselves, that then brings a change, which is the destiny that all humans could move towards, something which is positive. And
No. I'm just saying because I'm just taking some notes based on what you're saying, because we find ourselves as Trinbagonians in a time. We all live here. We know what we're going through. There's a lot of heaviness in the place. And the only thing to ease the heaviness is really that light.
Yeah.
Ultimately, and I guess it starts with, is this, I would imagine all this is part of even though it's a coming together of, it's a collective, it is still fundamentally an individual journey.
Yes, absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah.
And as we always talk about, changing yourself first, and then changing the world, and being able to take care of yourself first before, of course, you could take care of others and help others as well.
Well, I'm seeing, Aaron, as we get into Thursday's engagement, Sister Jayanti is going to be part of the coming together, and I'm seeing where, highly respected, highly revered. Could you give me some more details about Sister Jayanti?
Sure. While I was studying in London, she was actually there as the head of Europe and London. So I had a lot of personal engagement with her. Have a lot of respect for her because she guided me a lot and gave me a lot of advice while I was up there. But spiritually, she's done a lot. She's been with the Brahma Kumaris for, I believe, over 50 years. Since she was 19 years old, she was actually one of the first to come here to start service. And so that's why it's so special to have her coming now. She's also an author of a good few books, spiritual books, of course, all helping and guided towards meditation. A lot of people follow her actually on YouTube and Facebook and all these things because her voice is very good for commentary. She gives a lot of meditation commentaries. So I think once people hear her voice, they will know the voice. If they've done a lot of the commentaries and listened to the commentaries on YouTube and those things. So she has a way with her words, with just her energy as well, as something that is very calming, takes you beyond this world.
Well, I'm seeing it's free admission, which is tremendous.
Yes.
And I would imagine Thursday's engagement is indeed, I would imagine, for the Brahma Kumari, the community. But is this all and sundry? Are you inviting, is this a open invitation for those who are available to come and experience it?
Yes, absolutely. So we have reservations. There's a QR code on the flyer. There's also a number that can be called, which is Sister Kamla. So we do want, we are open to the public at all times, right? Everything we do is always free of charge. Because again, the idea is we want to change human consciousness. You don't charge for that. I think Sister Jayanti come in. I've been sharing this around with friends, family. She brings with her a sort of, the same words I might share might hold a certain power, but someone who lives that constantly, they might share the same exact words I say, but it holds so much power. It shifts something within the soul.
Do you feel a presence when you meet Sister Jayanti? When you're in,
absolutely,
you feel something, huh?
Definitely. You yourself, just by being in her presence, become calm.
Yes.
And become very, It is. I don't think there's anybody who could be in her presence and get upset or get angry or anything. That's the kind of presence she holds. And that's why I think she's sought over all over the world. She's been traveling all over.
There's an energy and a frequency thing, and people who possess that, it's something truly special.
Yeah.
When you're just in the presence of someone and you can actually feel that particular and that calming energy, as it were.
Yeah.
For those who have piqued their interest in our conversation this morning, and even when you were here last year, how do they join in the Brahma Kumari Society? How do they probably come to meetings? How do they? If they want, you have piqued their interest, they want to continue the conversation. How do they check in?
So actually, we have centers around Trinidad. We have 5 main centers. There's one in Port of Spain. There's one in St. Augustine, Chagona, South, Sandy Grande. You could actually go on through Facebook. We have all our pages there. You search in Brahma Kumaris Trinidad. Even if you search us up and you see a number you call, someone would always be available to welcome you. And you could start classes on meditation. You could start positive thinking courses.
You have anger management as well.
For people who mind, it seems to be always going, especially meditation. I know it helps a lot. How do they get to that place of Zen, that place of calm, to just start the process? Because I know it's easier said than done.
Yeah, I think it's something that you really have to work on. And I think sometimes we practice just maybe 5 minutes in the morning. Mm-hmm. You could start with that. 5 minutes, 10 minutes in the evening after work. Maybe you're sitting in your car. You just take a few minutes as well there. Reflect, take that time out for yourself. So it's very easy, but it's just that you need to practice, just like with everything else. Yeah. Once you practice it, you become better.
And you get that muscle memory, as it were.
Yeah, definitely.
As we wrap things up, again, just give me the online information so that, those who are looking on, they want to check in and continue the conversation.
Yeah, so you could actually check us on brahmakumaris.com/Trinidad. Mm-hmm. That's our local website. But the easiest, I would say, for most people, go on Facebook, Brahma Kumaris Trinidad. It's the easiest way to find us.
Google.
Yeah.
Google, of course.
That's right. That's right. Well, Matthew and Aaron, great to see you guys. Thanks again. Thanks for bringing this for us. This great engagement. Again, 50th anniversary celebrations indeed. Congrats in that regard. And let's put it up. Queen's Hall, all roads lead to Queen's Hall on Thursday. And you could scan the QR code, go on the social media feed to get more details. Kudos again to the Brahma Kumari Society, the center. Thanks again for coming on. All the best, guys.
Thanks again. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed. We take the pause. We come back and give you some of the World Cup scheduled games for today. Some of the big stars, they make their rollout today, Tuesday.
Magical Expressions Limited is the largest local importer and distributor of fresh cut stems, offering the widest range of beautiful flowers at the most affordable prices. Call us today at 701-6488 or visit our website to order.
The detergent smells nice while washing, but when you use the new Downy Intense fabric softener, with its new multi-capsule fragrance, it releases an intense scent that lasts twice as long. With the new Downy Intense, you'll enjoy a rich and delightful fragrance that keeps you feeling fresh 24/7.
Sportsmanship is when an athlete walks off the court and you can't tell if he won or lost because he carries himself with pride either way. This quote is an embodiment of sport, and for me, sport is an embodiment of life. We are where you are.
In the ever-changing media landscape, we at Guardian Media strive always to put you, our viewers and readers, first.
We strive to uphold the time-honored tenets of responsible journalism.
For us, accuracy is key.
And in our reporting, we strive not only to be first, but fair,
impartial,
and to uphold journalistic integrity.
Above all, we are accountable to you, and we must respect the views of our audience. That is our solemn contract with you.
Keen attention to detail.
Rigorous verification of facts.
Use of credible sources and sound editorial judgment.
Keep track of our editorial policies and guidelines, including our corrections policy, by logging on to www.guardian.co.tt for more.
Welcome back. Well, I have the schedule in hand for today's World Cup action, and the big stars, they come out today. Mbappe, alongside France, will take on Senegal. That's with Sadio Mane. That is the 3 p.m. game today for World Cup 2026. Then Iraq, they're coming up against Norway, and you know Norway their main striker, their talisman, Haaland, who is a goal scorer extraordinaire. He makes his World Cup debut. He's never played in the World Cup before, so that's going to be very interesting. And then the late game, well, we'll have the business of Algeria playing, well, defending champions Argentina with one of the, well, I think you might know that player. His name is Lionel Messi. That's right. He's stepping in. So today the stars come out. Messi, Mbappe, and Haaland take to the pitch. World Cup 2026. What a beautiful tournament. Enjoy. Godspeed. I'm back for more tomorrow. Until then, have a great day, TNT. All the best.